I am going to broaden my horizons a little bit today. I'm stuck at home because of this pandemic. I don't want to go out. So I'm going to experiment with a piece of guanciale that someone brought me. This is a piece of cured pork, and it comes from the jowl or the cheek of the pig. I've never cooked with it before. I checked with my Italian friend, and she said that it's one of the tastiest pieces of the pig, so she recommended it. Why not? I looked on the internet and found a recipe for spaghetti with guanciale and cheese that looked pretty inviting, and it gave me an opportunity to make pasta from scratch again, which I already made the dough. It's sitting over there. So let's make this spaghetti with guanciale and cheese. First thing I need to do is prep this. It's vacuum sealed in there, and my understanding is it's got two pieces of plastic, and this is the skin. And my friend told me the skin has to be removed. So I'm going to take that off with a little paring knife. And by the way, you don't need this cured pig jowl cheek to make this sort of dish. My understanding is you can make this just as easily with, you could use prosciutto, you could use ham, you could use bacon. I thought I would try this. It looks like it might be fun. Oh, that's weird. I can see the whiskers of the pig on there. I'm glad I don't have too delicate a stomach. Okay, and I want to cut this into cubes or little strips, maybe about like that. There isn't much meat on this. There's a lot of fat. Okay, I've got some work here to do, so let me get this done. So there it is, my chopped guanciale. That's about 7 ounces, 200 grams, coarsely chopped. Normally what you would do, looking at the recipe that I found on the internet, you would start heating your water to cook a pound of spaghetti, dry spaghetti, 450 grams. In my case, I'm going to be making my own pasta from scratch. So I'm doing things a little bit out of sequence. While I'm cooking this in a skillet, I'm going to prepare my spaghetti. The dough is already made. I just have to cut the spaghetti. That oil is starting to get hot. I'm using pure olive oil, what I call cooking olive oil. It's refined olive oil. It has a higher smoke point. I wouldn't use extra virgin olive oil for this because it'll burn easily. I don't want to burn the oil and ruin the flavor of my dish, especially considering what my friend paid for this guanciale. It came to about $24 per pound. So, and my Italian friend said you can find it in Mexican grocery stores at a more reasonable price. All right, I'm going to let that cook. I'm going to reduce this heat down to medium, and I'm going to stir this often, and I want to cook this until it turns brown. Think of like browning bacon, and that'll probably take 10 to 12 minutes. So here's my pasta dough that I'm flattening out before I run it through my pasta machine. Okay, that's already set to number 1. In the last video I did, I rolled it with a plastic jar. This time, for the sake of convenience and ease, I'm going to use a pasta machine. Number 3. I'm going to roll this only to number 4, because I read one recipe where it says you don't want to cut the noodles too thin. And by the way, I turned my heat down to medium-low under the guanciale because it was going pretty well. And that's good enough. There's my sheet of pasta dough. I'm going to flour that just lightly. And let that sit for about a minute while my meat finishes cooking. And then I'm going to start, while I'm waiting rather, I'm going to start some water heating on the stove. So there's my guanciale, lightly browned. I'm going to turn the heat off under that. I'm not sure how much fat I'm supposed to leave in the pan. There is a lot of fat in there, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strain some of that off into a bowl, and I can always add more if I think it needs it, right? I brought the heat back up under this pan. And I'm adding half a cup of dry white wine. And I'm going to cook that a little bit until that is reduced somewhat. While that wine is reducing, and by the way, that 1/2 cup was about 120 milliliters. I'm going to section my pasta here into 2 pieces, and then make sure these are floured lightly so they don't stick in the machine. Okay, that looks good. And then run this through the rollers to cut these into spaghettis. Okay, the second piece, and my water is just coming to the boil. And this will cook really quickly because I'm cooking fresh pasta rather than dry pasta. It cooks like in a minute. I'm gonna put my spaghetti in there. Get that stirred up. Some people save their pasta water to add to their sauce. A good time to do that, I think, when using fresh pasta, is when it comes to the boil, you'll see foam starting on the top. That's the flour coming off the surface of that fresh pasta. That's the thickest part of the pasta water. So I'm going to scoop some of that foam off and use that as pasta water in my sauce. There's that foam I was talking about. I'm going to grab some of that as it comes back up to the boil. This metal ladle or spoon will stop it from boiling also so that it won't boil over. I brought the heat back up under my liquid. I'm going to stir this around to coat. And then I'm going to add some of my pasta water. And I'm going to bring this to a boil and cook this for a few minutes to see if I can't thicken that sauce that's underneath there, that liquid. I'm going to turn the heat off under that. Just a small pinch of salt. And then I'll put a little bit of black pepper in there. And then what I'm going to add, now that it's off heat, I'm going to add 1 cup loosely packed of Romano cheese. That came to about 2 ounces or 55 grams. And without working that too much, because I don't want to get that cheese stringy, I'm just going to work that in. So here is my spaghetti with guanciale and cheese. Looks good. Put some of that meat on top. Save some of that for later. A little bit more. All right, that should be good enough. And how you can dress that up a little bit, sprinkle a little bit more black pepper on there, not much, just a little bit for appearances. Put some cheese on it. Again, this is shredded Romano cheese, just a little bit. And then maybe give it a little sprinkle of some fresh chopped parsley. It's Italian parsley from my little herb garden outside. There it is. That's ready to eat. Got to see what this tastes like. I have never worked with guanciale before. So I'll get a little bit for myself with some pasta. Let's see what I got. It's actually very good. It's got its own flavor. It's not like bacon. It's not like pancetta. A little bit salty, but it's quite good. Salt is probably from the curing, so that's a nice flavored pasta. So excuse me, I'm going to go enjoy my spaghetti with guanciale and cheese.